Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of Digital Painting Art Show. My name is Jesus Conde, and today we're going to be doing environments. And for that, we're going to be using a palette of colors that I took from a picture of a real palette of colors. So let's try that and see what happens. So before starting this painting, I just wanted to make sure you guys know that when I do this kind of thing, I like to kind of have three sections. It's more like a composition technique where the darker stuff seems to be closer to us, so it's going to be kind of like in the front of everything, like all this foliage, all these trees that are darker are in the foreground. We also, these ones kind of like still here, so all these will be our foreground, and our middle ground will be the house, which should be, in my opinion, the most important thing that you're trying to the center of attention should be the house here. That's why I also put all the trees kind of like pointing to that. Like, let me use my colors of the channel. Like all the leaves are like pointing to the house. So this kind of gives some direction to the eye to look at it. And the background, if you notice, the background is lighter than everything. All the stuff that is in the background is light, so it makes easy to spot the shape of the house. So that's it. Let's get started with this tutorial. So we're going to start by creating a brush that has a texture, and for that we're going to look for a texture on the internet. It will be nice if the brush is kind of like a dirt texture, a concrete texture. You can even look for paint texture. What really matters is that it tiles. It has to be tileable. It means you have to be able to repeat without you being able to notice what it repeats. So it's kind of like an infinite texture. So for that, you just look for tileable texture on the subject that you're looking for. Concrete. I am looking for concrete, so I just look for concrete tile, and then I just paste it here in Photoshop. Now we need to make it a pattern, so we go to we need to downsize a little bit because it's too large. So we go to edit, define pattern, and now we have a pattern that we're going to use in another step. We create a new file that is kind of little, because if you make your brush too big, it could be really heavy for the computer. And what we want to do with this little brush that we're going to create, I wanted to make it kind of like plain with a little bit of inclination. So I just took any brush that I could find there that give me this kind of like plain without any opacity kind of brush, and I just I'm just painting something that I think it will be interesting to paint with. And then I just go to define brush preset in edit, and there we go, we have our brush. Now I gotta have a new file to test it. Is this last one here? So here we go. This is how our brush looks without any modifications in the properties. So the first thing that we're going to do is we need to make it, no, I don't want it to be transparent with the brush, with the pen pressure. But I do want it to repeat, so I'm going to change the spacing. 1% is too low, maybe I don't know, you're gonna notice if it's too low, like 1%, it will be heavy to use. So 3%, 4% depends. What I want is that you cannot see that it repeats. And here in texture, we're going to look for the pattern that we did at the beginning. Remember that we click on edit, define pattern, and we're gonna go up in scale because we need it to look like it doesn't repeat itself too much. I want to try a variation with this brush, like a more darker version of it, to see what happens. But I think that the result will be something clearer, like less dark. So let's see what happens. Here I'm making it more and more dark by duplicating the adjustment layers. And now I just have to define this pattern. Edit, define pattern, and if I go to the brush options, I just gotta select the new pattern, which is the last one. That's it. And I really don't like it too much because it's lighter. It's kind of like a clearer version of the one that I already have. So I wanted to start with the other one. Okay, so I took this palette of colors from the internet. I just look for palette of colors, and I'm going to be working with 40% most of the time, so I can blend them. I'm just picking each color with the eyedropper, which is the letter I on the keyboard. Just press the letter I, and that's it. Sometimes I'm going to change the opacity from 40 to 100. Sometimes I will go 20%, 30%, and that's with the numbers on the keyboard. I want you to notice that what I'm doing is I didn't blend the whole color like completely. I left a little bit of blue in there, a little bit of white. If you can see the sample at the left, at the upper left, I have a little bit of white in there, a little bit of blue, so it doesn't look like I'm using the same color all the time. That's important, because you don't want the painting to be boring with just one plain color. This is another different technique what we're trying here. So right now I'm trying to get some kind of a green color. I already had some green in there, so I'm going to use that one with a little bit of yellow. So I get a kind of like a brighter version of that green, but I never got like really bright green. So later in the painting I'm gonna have to use another palette of colors to maybe put a little bit more of that bright colors. So we're going to start like from the back to the front. Like we're going to start from the deep back of the painting to the foreground, to the background, from the background to the foreground. So you can see that in the foreground I'm going to be using a little bit more of darker colors, and sometimes for sketching too, like what I'm doing right now with some house that is going to be in the middle. But the colors in the background, we're going to try to keep it kind of bright, very light, and the ones that are on the foreground we're going to be using darker tones. That's really important that you have to keep in mind all the time. Okay, so what I want you to try is get loose with the strokes. Don't be so rigid with the shapes. Try to think of it, what will happen if you were looking at the image with your eyes kind of closed. You will see everything blurry. You won't be able to see any detail. So that's what we want to actually do here. We're going to be painting a lot of strokes. We're going to a lot of stains, and eventually will look like if it's something. For example, here right now I'm just putting some colors where I think the most of the leaves, the plants are going to be. but actually I'm not sure if they're going to have that shape exactly. So right now that's what matters. Okay, so at this point I noticed that I wasn't going to be able to get the green color I wanted with the colors that I have in that palette exactly that I was using. So I just looked for new palette of colors, but I didn't want to get these digital colors that I found. So there's one that I really liked, this one. It has really bright colors, so that's the one I'm going to use. So I took this one, just copy and paste, and then painting everything in the same layer. Actually, I'm not doing anything weird with the layers or something. So this one is the one that I'm going to take. You spread it there. I'm just using the eyedropper and just painting, so I don't get color from the palette itself, which is kind of like a gray with a little bit of red or something, pink. And here you can see that I'm trying to paint everything at once. Don't get stuck on just one part. Until you get to the details, you just have to paint everything at the same time. And look for reference. I found a picture on the internet that I really like. It doesn't look anything like what I did. It's just something that gave me an idea. It doesn't even have to be the same composition. It doesn't have even to be the same. Mostly the colors is the thing that you kind of will take a reference. The lighting, how's the light touching the leaves and stuff like that. Try to imagine what colors are there and stuff like that, but not the drawing. I mean, you can change a lot of stuff. I could have changed the house for something else, like a carriage, maybe a little tower. I don't know, because it looks kind of like medieval thing. You can do everything you want, really. So after some time applying colors, I kind of got something like this. It still doesn't look good at all. That color on the ground, I just put a little bit more of white and yellow. Actually, I blend an orange before, and blended with the brown that I had. This is a really good exercise because there are colors that you don't think of how they are blend. I mean, if you come from an artistic background, of course you know kind of how to mix some colors, but there's people that I've known that really doesn't have any idea how to blend or what colors you will get if you blend this color and that color. So this is a good exercise for that, because you now know how to get some colors quicker, or what do you need to put in this color to get this. For example, as silly as it sounds, you could start noticing that the shadows, most of the shadows that you see on the street, had a little bit of color of the sky. I mean, they are a little bit blue. Or you could start noticing the color reflections, the color bleeding when one thing of one color is at one side of another. You can see that some of that color of the first object transfers to the second one because of the light, and it bounces. Stuff like that. So you could see, okay, I need a little bit more of red here, I need a little bit more of white or something. You can start making these decisions because now you know how to use the color more. And well, actually there's not too much to say about what I'm doing right now, but you can see that I'm starting to put a little bit more of variations on the background. Like here I'm going to start using some white for maybe the light that comes through the leaves. And mostly when working on the background, it's like right now I'm trying to put some details on the leaves because of the shape of the trees. I wasn't too convincing, but I still kind of work the silhouette of everything. Like there's not something definitive. I didn't use any line art. I didn't use any kind of like any drawing to know the shape of the tree itself. So this is also a good exercise to kind of experiment to how are the shape of things of just pure color without using any lines. So basically everything that you do will add to your knowledge. And here these leaves supposed to be closed, so they should be darker, but at the same time they're receiving some light and they're semi-transparent. The light comes through them, so you should be able to see some of that green color. You cannot just paint them black, you have to see some color in there. And I didn't want to left the house without detail, so I put a little bit, just a little bit of detail in the house to kind of make it look like it is more defined, like it's the center of attention. The stuff that is not detailed, it will immediately kind of like fade with the painting, and your attention will be concentrated in the thing that has the more detail, because the human eye kind of works like that already. When you're looking at something, you are focused in that thing, and everything else will look blurry or double. So everything that is blurry is going to kind of appear like it's not important, and you're going to concentrate in the thing that is most detailed. Now, it doesn't mean like you're going to leave everything else without detail, but you just have to know what you want the people to focus on, so you can paint the detail in just that part, and that saves a lot of time. For example, something that I really like of the reference that I was watching is that for some reason all the leaves were kind of like pointing to this object that was in the center, like a little how I call that? Yeah, it was like some kind of a house, but the roof was different. Even have a chimney and stuff like that, but all the leaves were kind of like pointing to it, so that gave a composition factor. Like without you, even if you don't want to, the painting itself is telling you where to look at, because all the things are pointing to the center object. All the leaves or the trees are kind of like pointing to the center, the tree branches I mean, and that is used a lot in paintings. I was reading a book of James Gurney, and there's a lot of stuff that he does with the perspective of things and objects that are pointing to the main character on the scene, or the thing that you want to be most important in your painting. I was noticing that the background was really dark. It's supposed to be daylight, so I kind of made some really bright colors coming from the left, right there, and then I wanted to hit a lot hard to the right, so that's why in the ground that is so bright in the ground, and the leaves near the brightness of the ground. And because the light is coming from the left, I just thought it would be cool to have all the left part kind of like really bright, but the tree that is in the foreground, that is in shadow, will be really dark against that brighter background. And because the background is white, it will be even darker. It will appear to you that it's darker, but it's not. So at the end of the day, what I really want to you guys is to try this out and let me know what you think of it. If you want the same PSD that I'm using, I use that palette of colors that I just took from the internet. I'm not taking any credit for that palette of colors. You just can get it on my Patreon page, and the extra video that is the same thing, but it's not cut. I mean, it's not like the editing that I did for this, so it's not so long. I had to cut some pieces. You can download the full video in my Patreon page. And well, and the brush, exactly, that's I was trying to say. There's something else that I have to put in the Patreon link, is the brush. Also, it is going to be in there, so if you are interested in the brush too, just get in my Patreon, which is just $2 the month, and you can get it with the material that I do every week. You can download. So anyway, coming back to this, I like it that there's a lot of little branches coming from the tree on the picture that I had, and they look really like they add a lot of detail to the painting, because of the size. It's really little, and I just couldn't resist to do them, and that's why I adding so much of this stuff now on the foreground. But you notice that I didn't have to do too much detail on the background, because it's supposed to be kind of like out of focus. It's not that important as the house itself, or these little branches that give the composition, that makes you think that you have to watch what they point into. So it was really important that they will be in focus for the painting, that they look like they are actually there, really defined. Okay, so now you get to see that it's a little bit more detail in general. So that's the thing that I want you guys to try, to do something similar. Here I'm starting to put a little bit of light on the roof of the house, and now I need a little color in there. So I put some red for the kind of like little roses or something like that. But the bright parts should be like super bright red and a little bit of pink, because actually when the light hits the red, it doesn't go pink, it just go more red, like more saturated color, more saturated version of the red color. And I just put a little bit of pink because that's how it looked kind of in the photographs. So I wanted to see like the difference between the photograph. Well, depends on the camera also, but it is not the same when you look at it in the real life than when you look at it on a picture. It looks completely different in terms of color. Sometimes it looks more interesting, I think, because of the lenses and stuff like that. It's like looking the same thing from another world or something. But most of the time what happens when it's something really bright, it will look different if the cam is cheap. If it's a reflex camera, maybe you will get a different version of that. Okay, so here I wanted to check out the values. You can see that it's kind of plain in the background, so I need to kind of separate the background from the house. So I just took the same color of the background, which is kind of like a blue fog kind of thing, and then I just paint that on top and erase the house from it. So now it looks like it's a little bit more the silhouette looks a little bit better. Then I just changed the opacity of that a little using the numbers on the keyboard. I dimmed down the opacity on the layer of that little fog in there, and so it doesn't look so much like I just put it in there, like just paste that entire color. And in the foreground I'm going to make it a little bit more darker with the same brush. It's a really soft brush, nothing weird going on with that brush. Also put a little bit more kind of like extra lines in there to make it look more detailed, and then painted some block of dark values, but then just erase it a little bit, so it was too dark. Then I put it on adjustment layer to get more contrast, and that's it. That's like the whole process of this painting. which is really rough actually. It's not that detailed. So I really hope you enjoy the process of this little painting. Let me know what you think on the comment section below. Please, if you want to be part of my Patreons, just get in the link in the description, or follow my Facebook page so you be in touch with everything I do that I put on the week. The deal with my Patreon page is that my patrons will get an extra video every week with the tutorial that I did that week, but it's gonna be a full video without the editing. It doesn't have any audio, but it's without the editing, so it's full. You can see the whole process with the mistakes and all. You can have the PSD file, and in this case, because of this different tutorial, you can have the brush also. So please join. It's only $2 a month. So see you next week. Thank you very much.